Maybe.
We're live.
Oh, and we're live. Patrick, you did that on purpose. What's going on, everyone? Lauren Sister here with AL.com. Michael's laughing in the background. You might as well pop up Michael. I mean, there's no secret that Michael's joining us right now. I was trying to clean up my living room here. I got a puppy running around. It's a little crazy. But hey, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate our sponsor, Inline Lighting, for sponsoring this edition of SEC Insiders. We talk some hoops. Hey, it's pretty cool. It's March 24th, and we're still talking hoops. It's kind of a pretty big deal around these parts, huh?
Sure. Yep.
Why not? Sure, why not? Hey, Michael, I know that you're a little tired, a little dazed and confused. You've been burning the midnight oil there with all the work that you've been putting in. You were obviously in Indianapolis. So I just want to start there. Alabama has punched its ticket to the Sweet 16, first time since 2004. With the win over Maryland, 96-77. Just kind of give us a feel for the kind of sights and sounds. Things obviously a lot different this year than most tournaments, but we didn't have anything going on last year. So this year, obviously, it's great to kind of be back in this position playing basketball and with Alabama, on its mission to win a national title.
Yeah, I guess something's better than nothing. But it's kind of an interesting scene. Downtown Indianapolis was kind of the site of all these games, pretty much. Some of them were on the outskirts of town, but right there downtown, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, right there where Alabama played on Monday. Lucas Oil Stadium is down the street from there. Just a lot of there are a decent number of fans. They allowed a couple thousand into each of these venues. Obviously, well spaced out. There are a lot of restrictions still. But it had a kind of a festival feel of just a lot of different places represented by a small number of people. So if you're walking around, you're seeing a lot of different shirts, a lot of Illinois, Maryland, not that many Maryland, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, definitely a lot of Michigan fans. But, Alabama was pretty well represented. Both games, they had bigger fan bases in the seats than there's a look at some of, that's the pregame scene. There were a lot more Alabama fans than Maryland fans per se on Monday night. So, once the game starts, I kind of, at least for me, I'm dialed into the game, and you can feel the atmosphere. There were some good, obviously not what it would be on a normal circumstance, but I guess we're kind of getting used to, at least for now, the feel of having a smaller crowd in there. But it was getting loud. All those threes coming down. Monday night, it kind of had that feel of a tournament game. Crowd was into it, so it's not old normal, and hopefully this won't be a long range normal. But it was a pretty, for what it was a decent atmosphere.
Yeah, you talk about the 3-pointers. They had 16 on Saturday night, and of course, Saturday night. Is that right? Was it Saturday night? I feel like they're all bleeding together. Sunday night, right?
Nope. Keep going.
Monday night.
There you go.
Oh, no, it was Saturday, then Monday. I can't even keep it straight. Okay, so obviously 16 threes, and they'd only had 5 the game prior on Saturday, right?
Saturday.
But with that being said, you kind of look at the road to getting here. You've been covering basketball all season long. You've been covering this Alabama team. You sort of saw the ups and downs, obviously, last year. In Nate Oates' first year, and then, heading into the season, things being quite a bit different. What is just sort of, when you look at this team and sort of the stamp that Coach Oates is trying to put on it, what are some things that maybe stand out to you about this basketball team and potentially the longevity that Nate Oates could have in success in Tuscaloosa?
It's kind of a style of play that a lot of coaches talk about and, promise a lot of those introductory news conference moments where they're promising a team that's going to play fast, play, high intensity, a lot of points per possession, a lot of possessions per game. And he's kind of delivered actually he's one of those coaches whose style meets the, what he set out to do. They play fast. They play defensive basketball. I think that's a big difference this year. Is their ability to stop teams. They're pretty intense on the defensive end. Quick hands, creating a lot of turnovers, points in transition. They want to keep things moving. They want to gas people because they have a pretty pretty deep bench, and they rotate people in and out. So I think that was the thing with Maryland. They only play about 7 players. So Alabama was pretty eager, and that was Iona as well. They were trying to really push the pace with them, try to wear people out in the second half. But 3-point shot, obviously, it's either a 3-pointer or a layup. There's no they don't believe in the mid-range jumpers in this offense, so you won't see too many of those. And when the 3-point shot's working like it did on Monday, it's a team that could beat anybody out there.
Yeah, and just kind of, for a point for comparison, obviously against Iona, a team that Alabama certainly overmatched Iona in terms of talent and abilities. But, there were some times where, not that it was concern, but you just didn't see that sort of spark from them. You didn't see that excitement from that team kind of come up flat there in the opening round of the tournament. And then what we saw against Maryland was almost a different team and just a different energy and this aura around them. And you could just see this intensity and this excitement, and that they have come to play. And I think the expectation is that they can, they certainly have an opportunity to come in here and win a national title. And what I saw on the floor on Monday night from this Alabama team is very indicative of that. And if they can continue to play the way that they did, I think that definitely bodes well for them. When you obviously haven't been able to be face to face with the team necessarily, and you've kind of been at a distance for most of the tournament. But when you think about, when you piece together some of the different, notes and nuggets that you've heard from Coach Oates and the players, what are some of the biggest takeaways based on what they're sort of sharing with everyone, from the outside looking in to kind of understand sort of where they're at mentally as they prepare for the Sweet 16?
Yeah, it's a whole different setup, even from, the different, the COVID restrictions that were in place during the regular season. It's even more ratcheted up for this tournament. And, obviously the stakes are as high as they can get. All the work that's been put into it, they want to keep everybody kind of in that controlled environment, the bubble, as it's called. So they're really pretty restricted in where they can go, who they can see. I think there's a 34-person traveling bubble. Since each school has that many people, whether it's coaches, trainers, team, everybody involved, and they have their own floor of a hotel in downtown Indianapolis. And pretty much when they're not practicing in meetings, they get some recreational time outdoors, but they're pretty much restricted to those floors to kind of keep everybody from an outside infection. If something were to get into a team at this point, it would be devastating for everybody. So it's pretty controlled, and they've said the food's pretty good. There were some issues early on, I guess, with the food when there's 68 teams in a few hotels. It's tough. I'm sure there's a lot of the logistics of it, something that they've never done before, and probably never even planned for before this year. So there's a lot of things they're kind of figuring it out, working out on the fly. So the players, that they haven't complained too much. We don't get a chance to talk to them, quite as much even as we normally would in a regular tournament situation where there'd be open locker rooms to talk to players before game or after games. So it's pretty much one player on a Zoom and Oates after a game. So it's limited what we're able to do to talk to people, but making the most out of it.
Before we get a quick preview on the Alabama UCLA game that's coming up on Sunday, if there's one or two players that really stand out to you, that have really just kind of maybe caught you by surprise, or at least, kind of given that flash, who would you say really, not that any one player is really carrying this team on their shoulders, because I think they distribute the ball well and everyone, plays their part. But who is it that kind of stands out to you that you've really enjoyed watching during this tournament?
And that's the thing about this team, is there isn't that one guy that a defense can totally key in on as the one guy they have to stop, because without that person, they couldn't go. They had their best offensive game in a while with the SEC Player of the Year on the bench for almost all of the two big runs they went on, with Herb Jones getting in foul trouble on Monday. So that's very kind of what's fascinating about this team, is there isn't that one necessarily. Alex Reese was a guy who had been struggling with a 3-point shot all season. It's always been a pretty good shooter for a bigger guy, and had struggled all season, and came out hit the two biggest threes of the game against Iona, and then was part of the onslaught on Monday night against Maryland. I mean, John Petty's been kind of up and down, had a very good game shooting the other night. Jaden Shackelford, the left-hand stroke, was on 5 of 8, I believe, threes the other night. So, it came from a lot of different directions. So I think that's what makes this team kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so UCLA coming into this one, they are an 11 seed, Alabama the 2 seed. Again, they'll be playing on Sunday night, 6:15 on TBS. And so just kind of some early notes on this team. I know, we're kind of getting into the, I guess the analysis part of breaking these teams down and sort of kind of the road for Alabama. When you look at UCLA and who they've gone up against, they've had 3 games that they've, beat Michigan State, BYU, and then, of course, I think the win against Abilene Christian. Is that right? Abilene? Did we say? I know Patrick and I keep going back and forth on the Abilene Christian. That was kind of a somewhat of a give-me game. But getting to this point, what kind of opponent would you say this UCLA team is for Alabama, and do they have a pretty good chance at beating them on Sunday night?
Yeah, I mean they were a playing round game. The first 4 had to beat Michigan State in that first game. I don't know, whatever that day was, Thursday, I guess. So it was a team that was one of the last teams into the tournament, the last at-large teams. So had something to prove. It's a Mick Cronin coach team, familiar with him from his times at Cincinnati and Louisville. So he comes from a good coaching background. Obviously UCLA as a program has Alabama football level national championships in the trophy case, but they haven't been that UCLA for a while. So it's a program with a name that definitely hasn't been to that level. I don't have the numbers in front of me the last time they were in the Sweet 16, but they've been kind of struggling a little bit in the last few years. So, they've got some good players. Jaquez, I remember I watched some Pac-12 games, probably more than most. Watching my guy, Bill Walton, the greatest ESPN commentator. No offense to anybody else, but nobody on ESPN is closest to Bill Walton. So I've watched some, more UCLA games than I probably would have normally. But, it's kind of thing where it's March. You can see the seedings, especially this year of all years, the number of double-digit seed teams in the Sweet 16. I mean, the Pac-12 undefeated. I mean, it's kind of crazy. So it's kind of anything goes at this point. The rules are out the window. So it's, it's tough to win 6 straight games in this tournament. That's why only one team can get out of it out of 68. So it'll be fun to watch. It's always, it's back in Hinkle, one of the greatest basketball venues out there. So it'll be fun to watch.
Michael, you put it so eloquently. I love how you're just a great speaker.
I am.
I'm sorry that I couldn't make it on the top of your list for ESPN commentators.
I'm sorry if you want to put yourself in Bill Walton's territory, be my guest. But
that's in basketball. Not even close. Hey, I appreciate your insight as always. Obviously, hopefully we'll see. You might be traveling back to Indianapolis. If not Indianapolis. Yes, I was right on that. You know what's funny? I was thinking about that Charles Barkley commercial, which is hysterical, by the way, where they're in Annapolis and they're having that conversation back and forth. And it was quite funny. So in my mind, I was like, wait a sec, Annapolis, got to get it right.
This has been a great Facebook Live.
It has been. I mean, we started off with me running off the couch and everything else. Hey, we appreciate everybody watching. We appreciate Inline Lighting. Michael, go get some sleep, go get some rest, and maybe we'll see you when you return to Indianapolis. Maybe we won't, but regardless, you're still my friend, and I appreciate you so, so very much. So have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you.